It's a major blow to their logistics. It has to be said that any attack on logistic infrastructure tends to kind of slow things down and make things difficult. But what then tends to happen after 2 to 3 days is people trying to find workarounds for them. This is a major blow. It will take a long time for the Russians to be able to repair this, and no doubt while they're trying to repair it, the Ukrainians will keep striking them from there. So again, it's a part of a wider pattern that the Ukraine's been able to achieve over the last 3 to 4 months, where they've not just been hitting the Russians in the immediate kind of tactical battlefield, but also been hitting their logistics infrastructure, their depots, their command and control centres, etc., further back. And this, of course, is further back from there. So an important strike by the Ukrainians on this Russian line of logistics. Will it have an effect on the battlefield? Immediately, probably not. Longer term, probably not as well. But in the meantime, it is important. And this kind of pattern of repeated attacks on Russian infrastructure, logistic positions, is an important development in the way in which Ukraine has been fighting the war.
I would agree that this is a very important blow for Russians. And I think there is, apart from military implications, I think there is a political implication there, because momentum it has been shifting towards Ukraine's side in the recent couple of weeks. And we see that Ukrainians are demonstrating that they are very much capable of inflicting damage to Russians. But most importantly, I think they are trying to deconstruct Putin's main narrative, which is all about this war being distant and this war being an isolated case which Russia is fighting against Ukraine, hence the Western world. But this is not of a concern of ordinary Russians. This has already been heavily undermined by Ukraine, and I think it will have further implications on deriving skepticism within the Russian society. That said, I don't really think that we are close to any sort of mass protests or any kind of upheaval of Russians against Putin's regime, but we already see that the skepticism is growing. Russians are growing concerned about the developments in Crimea and inside Russia. And they see that the level of insecurity is rising when it comes to Ukraine putting so much pressure on Russia. There is still a long way until we see Putin giving up and accepting any concessions. I think there is an escalation scenario as well, but it is a very significant shift in the dynamics, and the Ukrainians have been doing a really good job in terms of undermining Putin's main narratives.
Yeah, if I could just jump in. I agree with that in terms of kind of psychological and political impact. One of the things about hitting oil refineries, particularly, it's not just that you have an impact in terms of Russia's ability to refine its oil, but they are spectacular. They produce huge plumes of black smoke, which can be seen literally for miles and miles around. So it really brings the war home to them, and that fits with the logic of the attacks that Ukraine conducted on Moscow on the 16th and the 18th of June. Again, this is right at the heart of the Russian heartland, and quite clearly the Ukrainians had the advantage over Russia in terms of the balance of offence and defence. So the war is kind of coming home to Russia in a way it perhaps hasn't been before. Add to that, again, linked to it, petrol shortages, diesel shortages. This is a country which makes most of its money out of fuel, and now there's fuel rationing in various regions of Russia. So the war is kind of coming home to Russia, perhaps in a way it hasn't done before, and that will have an impact.
Absolutely. I would agree on that as well. And I think the optics is very much important for Russia. It has always been important for Putin because he has been selling Crimea as a success case, showcasing that there is a normal life under Russian protection. There is tourism that is flourishing. And now we see that the locals there are very much concerned about what the future is going to hold for them. And I think the defining factors there would be to what extent Ukrainians will be able to continue succeeding with their mid-range drone attacks on Russia and on Russian assets. And that will increasingly raise the tensions. And I think we already see that Russians are feeling very much insecure about the prospects of the continuation of this war, because even when it comes to nationalist Russians, the war bloggers, those people who have supported the war from its very beginning, they are already voicing their concerns, and they're becoming increasingly worried about the fact that Kremlin is not even communicating properly with the citizens in terms of what to do under this scenario. We don't really have the realistic sort of picture in terms of what kind of numbers we're talking about here, but I've seen the recent reporting that describes that there are, around 1,000 vehicles on the Kerch side, and it's hard to determine exactly what sort of numbers we're talking about, but there is a significant panic within the local population as a result of continuous attacks.
I mean, remember, this was the first place that Putin took in 2014. And Ukraine undoubtedly has the advantage, the tactical advantage at the moment in terms of what it's trying to do. But bear in mind, it's on the defensive. So the challenges that it's been able to impose on Russia in terms of being able to get over this death zone, this 20 to 30 kilometers of death zone, which it's imposed through its drones, would also apply to Crimea if it tried to turn itself around and attack through that death zone. So I think what Ukraine can do is make it more and more painful for Russia to continue to try to pretend to advance, more and more painful in terms of casualties it can impose. But going from that to a significant operational, even strategic level offensive, which is what it would require to retake the Crimea, I would say is not a realistic option at the moment. And I don't think it's something they're trying to achieve either. I think what they're keen to do is produce some form of ceasefire and then negotiation from there, and then some kind of guarantee that they won't be attacked further forward in the future. I don't think they're trying at the moment to conduct major operational level tactical advances, though of course they are trying to take back local bits of territory whenever they can.
I don't see it feasible either in a short-term perspective. I think what Ukraine is trying to do is to systematically isolate Crimea with deep strikes on energy, transport infrastructure, to make it much costly for Russia to conduct their operations, but also to raise the costs of this war from the ordinary citizens' perspective, as well as to sow panic within Russians that this war bears very heavy costs for Putin's regime. So I think the actual goal, I would agree with Simon on this, is to raise the costs and to somehow convince Putin that he doesn't have much options when it comes to accepting negotiations and negotiating in a more honest way in terms of providing the deal which does not include Ukraine's which has in mind Ukraine's interests. And we know what the red lines are from Ukrainian perspective. And so far, in previous conversations throughout these past couple of months, Putin has been absolutely determined to push forward a deal which does not include any of Ukraine's demands, and he was pushing forward his maximalist demands. So I think Ukraine now is trying to change this scenario, and they're quite successful at putting pressure on Russia.
Yeah, I'll just pick up one point there. I support everything Nadia said. Is around the casualties which Ukraine's been able to impose on them. What's really interesting to me as a military analyst is the way in which Ukraine's been able to invert the normal ratio of dead to wounded. NATO standard planning, going back into the days of the Cold War, was that on average, for every person we killed, there'd be 10 people wounded. A number of them would be seriously. That's not happening at the moment in terms of what Ukraine's been able to do to Russia. Indeed, it's been reversed. So effectively, they are killing 2 Russians for every one they wound. That's remarkable in terms of what they're trying to do. And what I'd be very interested to know, not even be able to help me here, is when is that going to have an impact on Russia and the way in which it conducts business? Because the Ukrainian aim was to try and kill some 50,000, or to injure, cause casualties, some 50,000 per month, which is a staggering amount of casualties. Many of them are now being killed. But so far, it doesn't seem to have an impact on the population of Russia, or indeed on Putin. And I just wonder what she thinks is the bar, the psychological bar beyond which it will be unacceptable to Russia.
Absolutely. I think it is already clear that the number of casualties for the Russian side is reaching a very much critical point, and we see that Putin is growing increasingly insecure when it comes to recruitment issues that he has. We see that there is a massive campaign at Russian universities, for example, to try and recruit students. There are open sort of calls for young people to join the army through accepting some of the perks that the regime is providing to them in exchange of their life and safety. And I think he very much understands that there are not many options there. There is, of course, a scenario in which he could accept a deal and negotiate with Ukraine and find some middle ground. But on the other hand, this will not be popular, and he will not be able to justify his such an expensive effort from the Russian side and such a long-term effort from the Russian side and sell it as a victory to the Russian citizens. And there is, of course, a scenario of escalation. But if he chooses a scenario of escalation, I believe he will be faced with a dilemma to call a mobilization. And mobilization has been such a controversial issue for Russians. We already see that Russians are not very much enthusiastic about sacrificing their lives and the lives of their children for this for Putin's goals, for achieving Putin's goals with regards to Ukraine. So I think this decision bears quite a lot of political risks for Putin's regime, but I believe if Ukraine will continue successfully attacking Russia and being able to retake maybe some of its territories in the short to medium term perspective, Putin will be extremely constrained when it comes to the choices that he has in terms of continuing his war effort.
If I may, I'll start. I mean, the thing I've just been following and checking at the moment is what's going on in Belarus. And this is still very early days at the moment. But we've got a situation where President Zelensky has effectively threatened Lukashenko, the leader of Belarus, with consequences if he doesn't remove some of the relay stations which the Russians have been relying upon for their drones. This would be a major expansion of the war and brings with it a significant level of risk. But I think it also tells us something about the confidence that Ukraine currently feels. I think that will be an interesting development over the next week or so.
Yeah, yes, I do agree. When it comes to Belarus, I think Ukraine has demonstrated very much. Ukraine has demonstrated confidence, approaching and then directly threatening President Lukashenko, who has been supporting Russia's war machine. And I think his recent statements also express the fact that Lukashenko is becoming very much worried about where this is going. And he has been trying not to be dragged in this war directly. But now that President Zelensky is using the language of ultimatum against him, he feels like he doesn't have many options either. So in that case, he's trying to play some sort of balancing act, but it is becoming more and more complex for Russia's allies to directly support Russia's war effort. And I think the Belarusian-Russian case is a good demonstration of it.